Hi, today we'll be going through a end-to-end demonstration of the integrations between Microsoft Purview, CluedIn, and we're going to walk you through the kind of whole setup and what features and functionality there is there, what value this brings as well, and hopefully this will give you an insight into how easy it is to set up the integrations between CluedIn and Microsoft Purview. Now on my screen I actually have Microsoft Purview on the right hand side, and I've got CluedIn on the left hand side, and as you can see, as you scroll down the different applications, there's a certain level of familiarity here. There's a certain similar user experience, even things like the left hand side menu driving you to the different parts of the application. And we have done a little bit of work here to set up the integrations between the two different systems. And so we have a relatively new instance of Microsoft Purview here. We've just spun up a brand new instance of CluedIn on the left hand side, and we've done a little bit of setup and configuration. Let's go over and take a look at what configuration that we actually set up. So if we head over to our settings, down the bottom we can start to see that in our Purview section we have, let me just zoom in for you here, we have some credentials, the client ID and secret that we've been able to set up. So this is an enterprise application that's been built in the Microsoft Entra ID, given the right scopes of Microsoft Purview, and we've registered those details inside of CluedIn so these two systems can start to communicate. So we've got our base URL. This supports both the PaaS and the SaaS version of Purview. We've got our client ID. You can see that our secret is masked. This secret can also come via an Azure Key Vault registered against CluedIn. We've got our tenant ID, what collection name in Purview that we're using. Notice that we've also added in the credentials for an Azure Data Factory instance. Now, this can also not only support Microsoft Fabric's instance of Azure Data Factory, but it can also support the good old managed service version of Azure Data Factory as well. I've got both up and running for this particular demonstration. Very similar to the Purview, we've created an Entra application ID, an enterprise app, and we've got a client ID and secret, and we're passing that through to the CluedIn instance. Now, notice that we've turned on Azure Data Factory pipeline automation. This is one of the big strengths of CluedIn's integration with Purview. This is something you're not going to see from other MDM providers, is that as we want to actually take data from Purview, whether we're browsing the catalog or we're browsing the new data products concept, we don't necessarily want to have to ask IT and join a long queue of IT requests to build pipelines for us to get that data into our MDM system. So you'll find that actually CluedIn can automate this process, and it looks really slick. As we're going down as well, we've got certain features and functionalities turned on. For example, we've got the automatic lineage that's going to be generated for us, and we can see that for right now we've enabled things like if data is cleaned, if there are any business rules, if we've got deduplication projects that we're running, and outgoing streams, they're all automatically synced. So that's something that we don't have to do manually. Notice that we're also going to be turning on the data product sync, and this is what allows CluedIn to monitor for particular data products. Now this one's really important. Notice that I've got this data term here. This is a particular glossary term that CluedIn is looking at in Purview, and if we see that this term is stamped against a data product, this is something that CluedIn will therefore automatically sync from Microsoft Purview into the CluedIn platform, and you'll see this happening in a moment. So a little bit of configuration that's needed to be set up. Head over to documentation.cluedin.net or .com, and you'll be able to see how this is all set up to make sure you've got that connection all working. So with that in mind, I thought I would kind of start from a little bit from the start, in that I have a folder here. So here I've got my file system, and probably can't make this too big, but in this particular case we've got a folder called Christmas Webinar, and we've got two sources of the data. One's from Dynamics and one from Microsoft Entra, and you can see that I've got some data here. It's actually CSV data. It's a naughty and nice list for Santa, but like a lot of companies have the issue of, that we've got data silos where our naughty and nice list of kids is actually scattered across multiple different systems, and it's not necessarily easy to bring together. So one of the places I wanted to start with is we want to get this data actually into an operational data lake. Now this could be one lake, it could be Azure Data Lake Gen 2. I've actually got both set up for this particular demonstration. But I'm going to keep this over here on the left hand side. I'm going to head over to my Data Lake Explorer. So let's just open this up here. And let's head into our container storage. Because what we're going to do, so if I just head to my APAC file system, I'm actually going to create a brand new directory, and we're going to call this Christmas, and we're going to call it Christmas Silver. So in our Silver, we're actually going to upload these CSV files that we've got here. So I could do subdirectories if I want, but I'm just going to upload these directly. So here's my Santa, Naughty and Nice lists. Let's drag and drop them into our lake. Now, of course, plenty of ways to get this data into the lake. In most cases, you're going to connect via something like Azure Data Factory, directly to the actual operational systems themselves. Come on, my drag and drop. There we go. Did you get it that time? Okay, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. So let's browse, and let's go to our Dynamics directory, and let's go grab those two files, and we're just going to open this up here. So we've got two files selected. Let's upload those, and let's upload the files from the other directory as well. So we've just brought in the ones from Dynamics, and so now we just wanted to bring in the other files from Microsoft Entra, and we're going to upload those. So brand new data. Unfortunately, we've got a bit of an issue where, obviously I would rather this be one just beautiful list of data, and you'll find this data is not necessarily easy to stitch together. So we've got a bit of a challenge in front of us. I guess a great place to start, we can close down that file system now, because essentially we've got the data into our lake. And this is a place where we can start to have Purview actually scan this data. And so for scanning, we head over on the right hand side to Purview, and we're going to head to our data sources. This is where we register essentially our lake, our sources of data. This could be things like OneLake, I've got Fabric, I've got blob stores, I've got all different types of places supported here. We're going to open this Azure Data Lake storage that I've got showing on my left hand side, and we're going to go to the scans. Let's sort by the previous scans that I've run. So let's just go to last scan time, and we can see that we've run one yesterday. I'm just going to actually open up the scan. I'm going to change the scan a little bit to take on our new directory that we've got. So we just called one called Christmas Silver. And so if we head to connect to this guy, we're just going to select our folder here. So under the APAC file system, we should have our Christmas Silver folder. So we're going to include it in that. We can remove these other guys. We don't need to scan that anymore. So we're going to click continue. And for right now, we're going to use the system default, and we're just going to run this once. Of course, this can be set up on a schedule. In production environments, you definitely would want to set this up on a schedule, so you've got that pulse of, as new files or new updates to the files come in, that there's a regular pulse on telling you, here's the new file, I found it, and so forth. This takes a couple of minutes to run. So with that in mind, let's go back to our data lake for a second. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our APAC file system, and we're going to create a brand new directory, and we're going to call it Christmas, and then we're going to call it Platinum. Now, the reason we're not calling this Gold is because at CluedIn, we like to usually introduce a new zone in between the Silver, where we pick our data up from, and the Gold zone, where we do our final modeling, final formatting, and things like this. And what it does is it offers the opportunity for IT and engineering to still pick up data from that silver zone and, do what they need to and, get something out into the gold zone quickly. The platinum zone is much more for the data that's in there is the data that's gone through the business. It's the data that's gone through data quality checks and process and all of those pieces there as well. So here I'm going to create my platinum folder. It's empty. And what we're going to do is over on the, let's drag CluedIn over to this screen over here. And what we're going to do is, the good thing is that, actually pretty much everything that CluedIn needs to actually get the data from the silver zone into CluedIn, believe it or not, is actually already done. But now we're going to get the data out of CluedIn back into that new folder called Christmas Platinum. And so here we are going to set up essentially a new export target. So export targets are places where data can go to after CluedIn. So here I'm just going to choose to connect to a data lake. And in here I need to give it some folders. So let's just say our platinum zone. Here we need our account name, which is our ADLS Gen 2 testing APAC. And I need to give it some credentials. So let me just take this off screen for a second. Let's just confirm from my video that we're off screen. Yep, we're off screen, which is good. And I'm just going to get some keys from my... Okay, so we're good. We've got our platinum. So let's go grab that directory name here, Christmas Platinum. We are wanting sync mode because we might actually want to spit out Parquet. So we can spit out in all different types of formats, but one of the places of this is supposed to go is back into the lake for analytical use cases, and that might be what that team actually want that in. From a Microsoft Purview perspective, one of the reasons we want to spit out this data as Parquet is that's something that's supported by Purview's data quality rules. So unfortunately to date, as of today's date, things like scanning CSV and Excel files for data quality rules Purview aren't supported yet, maybe in the future, which is why we're going to take in CSV data, but we're going to push Parquet data out so we get that nice data quality. Here we can set up the schedule of how often we want those files to be generated out, and we're going to test the connection string. Oh, it looks like it's failed. So maybe I've put my, let me go and grab my key. So let's go back to, I probably didn't copy that correctly, that's okay. Proof this is a live demo. So let's go to our access keys. And let me, I might need to take that off screen for a second. Let's show, copy that to clipboard, hide that guy, bring it back. There we go, we're good again. And let me put that into the account key. Looks much better, great. So now I've got a place for the data to go after to CluedIn. And this is a nice kind of classic medallion architecture setup where, we've got data coming in from this zone in the data lake we've called Silver. That's where we actually put our raw files. That's what Purview is scanning. So if we go into Christmas Silver, you can see here are our 4 input files. How's our scan going from Purview? Well, our Purview scan is now complete. Good, took about 4 minutes. That's great. And so what I can do now is I can head over to my catalog and we're going to want to start to look at these particular assets. So these assets should now actually be in our Purview catalog. So if I search for something like Santa _ nice _ list, give it a few seconds, and you can see that it's found our nice list, our naughty list. So we can click on this, and We can see the kind of inbuilt purview scanning is happening. So we've got our schema, great, it's picking up the right properties. We've got our lineage, pretty empty so far, but all of those things will change pretty quickly. But the good thing is it's found our particular assets. Now, one of the concepts I really love about Microsoft Purview, but also CluedIn has such a strong integration with it, is we've got this data on the left-hand side, which is our naughty and nice list, and it's kind of the makings of a good data product. And so what we're going to want to do is create a brand new product, and we're going to call this Santa list of naughty and nice kids. Here we can describe the particular data product that we're working with. So this is, let's just say something like, this data can be used to deliver presents to kids at Christmas. So let's do that. And the type, well, we need to make sure we select this as a master data and reference data project. And so as we click on this master data and reference data, let's click that guy here. I'll be the owner. We can have multiple owners here. We're going to bind this to some governance domain, and let's just, it seems like that seems to be a customer domain thing, customers of Santa. And here we can start to deliver some use cases. So let's just say this data can be used in the supply chain of delivering presents on Christmas Day. Alright, we can always come back and change these a little bit later. So here it's going to ask me to add some data assets. Now the good thing is Purview has scanned my estate and found those 4 new assets. So what we need to do now is we can either use the inbuilt kind of AI features to go off and have the system detect what assets we actually want to bind to this. In this particular case, I'm just going to add a filter. And this filter, we are going to essentially say, well, I'm only looking at assets that are probably being created within the last maybe like 20 minutes or something like this, maybe 24 hours. So our filter comes up and we want to go created within, and let's do 24 hours. Yep, looks good. And let's run that search. So we know the names of our files over here, but we should also be able to find them pretty easily here as well. Now we've scanned a lot within CluedIn, but we can see our Santa nice list, we can see our Santa naughty list, we can see the naughty list new, and we can see the nice list copy. Now let's go here and we're going to add these particular assets to the data product. Now if we head over to CluedIn, let me put this back on the left hand side so we can see these side by side. If we head over to our data sources, so these are the sources of data that have been fed into CluedIn. We've already got a couple of different assets here, but notice we don't have this data product called Santa list of naughty and nice kids. And we're wanting to get that into the MDM platform so we can start working with it and cleaning that data. So there's really kind of only one thing that we actually need to do, and that is we need to tag this with that glossary term that we set up in CluedIn before. So just to remind everybody, if we head to our settings and we head all the way down the bottom to our Purview settings, here we've actually said that you'll need to create a term in Microsoft Purview, a glossary term called Santa, and you'll need to tag your data products with this particular term so that CluedIn knows these are the ones that it's wanting to automate. And so if we just go ahead and add, and then on the right hand side we're going to see our list, we're going to search for Santa, we're going to add this guy into the list. Now still, CluedIn can't see this data product until it's been published. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to head back to our screen over here, our home screen, and we're going to publish this particular data product. Purview is going to say, well, you'll need to set up some access policies before you do that. Okay, so that's a requirement. And so we're going to say, we might set a maximum, let's just say, you can only have these assets for 6 hours, and we're going to put let's just put you in as the approver. Good. We'll save these changes. Now this data product is published. So you can think of this as now systems like CluedIn are able to discover this data product that exists. And, we want to have this situation where we don't have to now go off to IT and say, can you set up pipelines to be able to move this data into the MDM platform so we can start cleaning it and harmonizing it and getting that single list out to Santa. So if we head over to our data sources over here, just as a reminder, we've got these 5 different data products that we've got here. And every 60 seconds there is a sync in CluedIn that is happening to basically determine, should I go off and are there any more data products that are in the system that I should be looking at. Now the good thing is I've also got my Slack that is set up to automatically be notified when I get these new types of notifications, so I can bring that guy over here. Let's just go over here. Come on, there we go. It's just not playing ball. So there we go. So it's over in my screen. And then I've got all these nice notifications that'll ping me when I have my data source synced. So let's give this up to 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Good. It's often the case we can't wait. Let's refresh. I haven't published. That's what it would be. So I've got to publish the actual data product. All right. Good. Good thing I didn't wait too long. So I've now published the Santa list of naughty and nice kids. So in a matter of seconds, I actually should get a nice little notification including telling me that it's found a new data product. So sorry for that, but once again, we've got to wait for anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. This is very much a live and ad hoc demonstration of the platform. This is just really showing you how to set all of these particular things up. Let me check my Slack notifications. Oh, good, I've got a notification. I've also got a notification over on my screen, as you can see, in Purview, telling me that it's CluedIn, telling me that it's found a new data product. That makes sense. And as it goes along and sets up all the data pipelines and data factory pipelines, it's also going to give me a running kind of dialogue via those notifications of what's happening. But if we just refresh this list of data sources, we can now see up the top our Santa list of naughty and nice kids with 4 data source has been created. And as I go into this, we can see we've got these nice indications. This came from the ADLS Gen 2 data source. We do have our 4 CSV files in here. As we dive into these individual sources, you can see even right now the notification that there's an Azure Data Factory automation that has started in the background. We can actually go over and take a look at what those look like. So if we head over to the data factory that we've plugged in, I'm just going to refresh this screen. And you can see that, just a few seconds ago, there was the Santa Nice List CSV that started an automated trigger. And that's been running for the last 12 seconds. Let's give it a little bit of a refresh. We can see that, oh good, the first 2 have succeeded. And so what does that mean? If I head back to the CluedIn platform, I see these nice little notifications as well. But if I look at my Santa Nice list, I think that was one of the ones that actually had already run. So let's go here to our Santa nice list. And you can see that instead of having a little notification saying no data found or no data sent, it's actually saying, well, data's been sent, we just are missing mapping now. And so as we go into this asset, what's really interesting now is that we can actually start to explore the data itself. So here are the list of kids from this particular file. And what we need to do in CluedIn is start to map this data into the MDM platform. So while we have the other assets coming in, they should all be done by now, what we're going to do is we're going to map this data into the concept of let's just say a kid, okay? So the concept of a kid doesn't exist in CluedIn, but there's nothing wrong with actually creating brand new concepts on the fly. And in this case, it's actually going to use the data set itself to help define and accelerate what that model will look like. So let's give it a little icon. I think a robot would be appropriate. And then we're going to give it a structure. So in this case, I'm also going to call it a kid. And so we're going to create that element there. This is going to come up and tell me, hey, here are all the attributes that exist within that. And so I'm going to create a mapping for this. So this is going to create me the table, the structure to hold that data in the MDM platform. And then we're going to go into this mapping process. So just let me minimize the screen back just a little bit. And we're going to head into our edit mapping. And here we can start to apply all the kind of data quality checks within CluedIn, although that's not a big focus of this demonstration. Here you can see that the CluedIn platform has automatically suggested the full name is a great way to be able to represent the child or the kid. And it's also automatically detected, let's get rid of these notifications, that the ID is also a unique way to identify the kids within this as well. So with that in mind, let's go through and map this data in. Let's push this data actually into the MDM platform. So we're going to click process and we're going to click confirm. This is going to take the data from that specific file and it's going to push it into the MDM system as a set of 25 records. Now what's interesting is if I head over to my data products, this was the Santa _ nice list. And if we head into our, let's go find that. So my session is expired, so let's just log back in. Okay, let's go to our Santa naughty and nice list. And in here, on the right hand side, we've got our Santa nice list. Let's dive into that guy. And we can see, yeah, these are the columns that we got from this file. So you can see there's that nice bi-directional sync that happens between CluedIn and Microsoft Purview. We can see that our lineage is yet to be generated. So let's see how we go along and let's see how this will automatically get generated. But if we head into the MDM platform right now, we should have some records. So if we filter here, and if we filter by kids, we have these 25 records in the platform. Let's load their particular columns up. So let's go and get rid of all of this other data that we have here. And let's add in the columns that are just for the data we brought in. Good. Okay, so this looks like that data that we brought in, okay? So the data looks okay so far. However, as I go to onboard the other data sets, we'll find that, there's duplicates of records and it makes it hard to generate that one list. But what I'm going to do already is, even though I've only got one of the files in, remember when I set up that export target where I was setting up the access to that platinum zone? So what we can do already is we can set up what's called a stream of data. So I'm going to set up a stream and I'm going to call it Santa Kids. Within here, we can tell the CluedIn engine or what type of data are we actually wanting to send. So here, I'm going to keep it high level. I'm going to say where the type of data equals to a kid. Now notice I don't need to talk about the naughty list and the nice list or the different file names, and that's because once the data is included, we're wanting to turn it into a common set of terminology. In this case, we're going to use the business domain of a kid to represent that. After this, we're going to want to ask or tell the system where to target this data to. So here we're going to push this to our platinum zone, and we're going to give it a nice little name. So in this case, I think it would be appropriate of like Santa's list. Here we're going to set up the type of syncing mode. So I'm going to use synchronization. So it's basically a snapshot of the data in time every time this is generated. And we're going to auto select the properties. So this is just going to get all the properties that are available on that record. We're going to save. We get to see a nice preview of what this data will look like. So here we can actually see these are the 25 records that are going to be sent out to that target system in the form of Parquet, because that's what we set up as our export target file type. And let's start this guy up, okay? Now, remember that we had an hourly sync that was happening on this file. And so we're going to check in about 5 minutes the first file, but every time we do updates, I'm just going to manually trigger the job so we don't have to wait an hour to see all of the different updates. So if we've set up all our configuration right, and we head over to our APAC file system, if we head back out of our silver zone, because that data, as you can see, is already synced into the MDM platform, and we head into our Christmas Platinum, what is an empty file here, we're hoping within the hour, should be a Parquet file based off the snapshot of data that's in the CluedIn platform. So let's go back and check on this in a second. For right now, what I can do is just manually trigger the job. So let's do, let's go and trigger that job. Good. And it could take a couple of seconds, but you can see, great. I've now got a Parquet file out in my target data lake system, which is pretty nice. You can see that kind of end-to-end flow. So this is something that I could be putting Power BI on top of, OneLake on top of, notebooks on top of, but we still have the problem that we haven't brought the other files in. So let's go ahead and solve that. Let's just see how our lineage is going. Might take a little bit of time to get this in, just depending on the refresh rate that we set up with our Purview instance. And there you go, look at that. You can see that the nice lineage is being generated automatically of, you know, that data coming into the CluedIn platform, it being, you know, pushed into the concept of we've generated some data. Let's expand this guy out here. We can also view the details in the asset list. So if I go off to my Santa nice list here, okay, so let's go to this one. Yes, that's the one there. And we go to our lineage. Great. So we can put on our columns. We can go here. We can expand this guy out. So lots of things automatically being generated for us, which is great. We love when things are automatic instead of having to be manual. And you can already see the kind of depth and detail of lineage being generated by just the data coming into the actual CluedIn platform. And this is super nice. So here, as the data gets generated more and more, let's just go down here, and you can see that there's my concept, how this data is mapped into the concept of a kid. If this file exists multiple times, which you can actually see here, is that you know, all of the lineage is being generated. So you can see that these golden records here are being mapped into our concept of a kid right here. Good. So our lineage is being automatically generated as well. Let's quickly onboard that other data. So we're going to go back to our data sources, and this should be pretty quick because if I head to my Santa naughty list and I open the nice list, the naughty list, and the naughty list from another system. So let's go here. Okay, so here I've got my nice list. So I've got a list of 25 records here as well. It's asking for a mapping. The good thing is that I can reuse the mapping from the other data sets here. So if I go into my mapping, I'm just going to map using an existing mapping. Here we're going to go to our Santa nice list, and we're going to choose Santa nice list, create the mapping, and the mapping's now done. So we can push those records now into the platform. So let's push those. Let's do the same for our other assets. So let's go to our naughty list from the newest one that we've got here. Let's map our data. Let's choose an existing mapping. We're going to choose our Santa nice list again. And let's go take our nice list. Okay, one more mapping done, pretty quick. There we go, we're good. Too quick. Okay, so what am I doing here? Let's have a check. So maybe my mapping isn't all complete. There I've got my mapping, full name. Oh, it didn't have an ID. No worries. So, oh, interesting. Yeah, good. So it's picked up that actually this mapping is, this actually has different data in it, so it can't just use exactly the same mapping. But let's go and finish those. Let's go click process. Now my process button shows. Thank you very much, CluedIn. And then click confirm. Final list. I'm just going to go to our naughty again. Let's go to map. And notice all along the way, I've not had to involve IT. I've not had to ask them to set up pipelines. This is one of the benefits of CluedIn's approach to integration with Microsoft Purview. It is the only integration on the market that actually sets up the automatic pipelines. And to be honest, that's where a lot of the actual manual and time-consuming work is done, is having to go back to IT and say, can I join a very long queue of requests to actually get this data out? And so what we've just done is we've pushed in essentially 25 records from each of those file sources. But unfortunately, there's actually only 50 kids. Unique kids that are within these lists, and it's because Santa's been pretty bad and he's not been keeping a quality control over his data, and so that's led to the fact that he doesn't have that single view. Now the good thing is, if I head over to my search, let's close a couple of these browsers down so we're keeping clean ourselves. Let's head over here, let's head to our list of kids, and as we can see, that data is starting to kind of flow in. We can see this number count up and up and up and up. So here we've now got 75 kids that we've got, and so far. And so if we go and take, for example, a look at Natalie. Let's go look at Natalie. And we can see this is bad, in that I've got two Natalie Joneses here. It's obviously the same record, but there's no indicators that these are the same people. And so what we can do is we can use all this different tooling inside of CluedIn to fix these problems. But most important from a Purview perspective is that right now we've actually got all of that data automatically flowing downstream to our data lake. And so let's actually see this. So if we go back to our data lake here, keep an eye on the file size of this. So this is 7.72 kilobytes. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manually trigger that job again to not have to wait until the hour is up. And that's going to go through, and if we just click refresh, you can see that we've got a new file just a few seconds ago that's much bigger. So we've got this live, beautiful output of one file, not four, one file out into our Platinum zone. But we still got this problem that the data is duplicate records and we've got data quality issues. Let's go and fix a particular set of issues in here. Now the big focus of this is mainly on the Purview integration, so we won't go over all of the CluedIn features. But what I might do is I might go and set up a deduplication project. So let's go here, and we're going to create a new project called Detect Similar Kids, and with a spelling mistake, lovely. And here we're going to just filter by the type. So we're just going to say where the data type is kid. They're the types of duplicates we want to detect. Here is where we can set up a list of kind of deterministic, probabilistic, graph-based matching rules. We also support via our Copilot the use of using large language models to help with the process as well. But here, we're going to start out by saying if the kid.fullname is the same and the age is the same, I'd like you to bring back those possible records as duplicates. So here we can start to generate the results to see if this actually surfaces any possible matches for these records. Now, while that's happening on the right-hand side, let's go off to our Microsoft Purview. Let's go back to our data map. Let's go back to our sources. And let's go back into our data lake. Because what I'd like to do is I would like to take the latest scan. I think it looks like that was the latest one. Let's edit the scan. And I also want to include our Platinum zone in the scan. So now we're scanning not only the silver, but the Platinum as well. So we go back here. We go and include Christmas Platinum. Continue. ADS Gen 2. We'll just run this once. Now that could take another 5 minutes. That's okay. We can have that running just on the right-hand side in the background. That should be able to pick up our output Parquet files. And the value there is, well, once we're done, we could actually remove the 4 naughty CSV files and actually just serve up that Parquet file as the thing we're inputting into the system. And why this is important is that now that link has been set up between the data lake in the silver zone into CluedIn, and that now all we need to do is serve out that beautiful Parquet file out into our data product. And so you can see here that the deduplication projects have actually detected, it's found some similar kids. And actually it looks like their name is the same, their age, their location, and we're actually really confident with this set of results. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back and we're actually going to make some bulk approval here. So I'm going to say, well, approve all of these. These are all correct. And then I'm going to ask the engine to actually go ahead and, now that I've approved it, can you go through and merge those records? And what I'm hoping for is that we end up in a situation where we have just 50 kids. 50 kids that have come across 4 different files, where there was no ID overlap, where we didn't have the same data, but obviously we're just wanting to output that one beautiful file. Okay, so we can see our scan on the right hand side is running. This should take, once again, about 4 minutes or something like this. We can see our merging and CluedIn is starting to happen as well after the initial evaluation process. So we're at 63%, we're nearly finished. Our deduplication project is now finished. If we head over to our search and we filter, we're looking for that magic number of 50 kids. So if we go to our kids, there you go, 50 kid records. So now we have a beautiful single list of kids from across 4 different files that had different column names, different columns, no beautiful ID overlaps, and now we've got all of that in one single place. Now, we can wait for our little scan to finish over here because we want that Parquet file to be detected. But while that's actually happening, what I probably want to do is I probably want to trigger my job again to run. So this is the trigger that's going to output the Parquet file, because what I'm really wanting is to output a file that's got the 50 records in it. So you can imagine I'm probably looking for some kind of file size that sits in between 17 and 7.2. So let's refresh this guy. And our full snapshot. Might take a little bit of time for that job to run. Beautiful. So if we, let's leave that Purview job running, and if we head over to our Azure Data Factory, let's just refresh our list. You can see that all of our jobs to getting data into the platform have run nicely. There's our naughty, our nice, our Santa naughty and Santa nice list as well. So really easy to get data into the platform, really easy to get data beautiful and clean out into the target systems. I might duplicate my screen over here because what I might want to actually do, this is actually an interesting view of the data. I'm going to look at the data from the perspective of the KID entity type. So this is a business domain that CluedIn generates in Purview itself. And so if I go up the top here, I'm just going to type KID in. Just wait for it to upload or update a little bit. KID, there you go. Alright, so you see here, this second option, see the little CluedIn logo? This is actually something that's generated from CluedIn itself. And as we go to this particular asset, let's head to its lineage. And now we get to see a really nice view. So this is lineage that is generated all by CluedIn. So as we expand this particular lineage out, so we've got to actually go through and click on all the different lineage points. So let's go here, let's just show that one. All right, looking good, looking good. So let's just expand that guy out. Okay, look at you. So bear in mind, this is the automated lineage that gets generated for 4 files. And this is automatically generated by CluedIn. And so there is a, I would say, a very detailed view of what is happening to the data as it goes into the CluedIn platform. So let's just see this here. So here we can see the files that are coming in. We can see they're being synced into CluedIn. As we zoom to the right, let me just get my scrolling working, we can see the data was processed. It got mapped into the vocabulary of a KID. And as we move along, we can see we had our deduplication project that we created where we used both the age and the full name, remember that, to actually do the matching. And you can see that all of those in the end map up to this concept of a KID. So this is automated lineage that gets done from CluedIn. So our Parquet is now automatically generated. So our scan, sorry. So with this in mind, let's just take one of these files that gets spit out. So let's go here. Let's see if this search works, just if I do a little bit of a search. So if we go over here, there we go. Good, good, good. All right, so let's do here. My internet seems a little bit slow today. It's Friday, so maybe that's it. Let's do this another way. It does not seem to be behaving. So if we go to our completed, I should be able to go to the run ID. I believe it should tell me, okay, so it's 8 assets have been discovered. It would be a nice thing to have a link here, but doesn't seem like it. Okay, so let's go to our search. And maybe I could do my parquet, something like this. Okay, it seems like Microsoft Purview is not liking me today. Okay, we can do this the old school way. Let's go to our data lake. Let's go to there's a lot of assets, so that's going to be hard to go that way. Let's go to our search. Let's search for everything. And I think I want this one. Looks like the UI's changed slightly. View in all in data catalog. I guess that's what I want. Okay, here, I guess I want to find my oh no, that's that filter there. Okay. Okay, data source type. This is going to be maybe my collection. Maybe I could do it via that. Sorry guys, there should be an easier way to find these files. Either that or I'm just being silly. I want to find my parquet. So, I guess I'm hoping maybe I could search for Christmas Platinum. Maybe that'll do it. It's come up as a suggestion, so I'm hoping. Okay, so it's definitely found my folder. It's found definitely some naughty and nice list stuff. Okay, so let's try go to clip Christmas Platinum. I'm hoping I can find, and this shows me a folder view. Maybe related? Well, okay, so I've got my Christmas Platinum. Come on, come on. Christmas Platinum resource. It just doesn't like me today. So I found my folder. I can't seem to find my parquet file. So let's. This should have been the small part of the demo, but. Right. Let's see if this works. Nope, doesn't like wildcard searches. I've got my Christmas Platinum, and I need to find this guy. So I thought that would have allowed me to find the files. Okay, so let's see if it works with the entire file. Maybe this file name is too long or something like that. Parquet. How am I going to find these assets for you? Let's see if I can do it this way. So, can I search by, I kind of just want to find the latest. Which I actually don't think is supported. Let's do, I'll give it one more go and then I will give in to the Purview gods. Okay, so we've got our Christmas Platinum zone. It's definitely found that. Our export target. Platinum. We've got our folder. But for some reason, it's just not finding that Parquet file in the search index. I'm going to give in as the only thing that went wrong in this demonstration, but hopefully what you can see is that setup of getting data in, how easy it is to basically, flag a data product to CluedIn to automatically sync. We've cleaned it, we've turned it into one asset, and then we've pushed it out to this target system so that Microsoft Purview can have it in its asset catalog. Once we've got that file there in the asset catalog, that's what we want to assign into our data product, and that's what we want to make discoverable to the business.